Hello guys and gals, and welcome to a new tutorial. In today's video we are going to be covering a firework particle system that will fire off into the sky with this lovely little trail and then explode into a lovely random colour that we can assign. All of this is going to happen through a single particle system, but we're going to be using two different materials to do this. You're not going to need any extra content, we're just going to be using engine content, so there is no content to download for this video. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to build our basic little material here. So we're going to right click material, we're going to call this fireworks dot underscore m. And we're going to open this up, and the first thing that we're going to do is, with nothing selected, we're just going to head to our shading model, change this to unlit so that we don't have any lighting affect this thing, and change our blend mode to additive, which will give us some opacity while still remaining rather cheap. Now the quickest way to create a dot is to use a radial gradient exponential. So right click, search for radial gradient exponential, and now we've got this little fella here, and if we were to preview this, we should just get a dot. See, a dot, a simple dot. Right. To change this inside of our particle system, we are going to need a particle color node, and then we're going to hold M and left click twice for two multipliers, and we're going to take the top pin for the color data and put that into a multiplier along with the radial gradient, and then plug this into the emissive color. Then we will take the alpha node from the particle color and multiply this by the radial gradient and add that to the opacity. Ta-da! Lovely. So now we should just get this nice white dot. Cool. Material. That's all. Now we need to add this to something, so we're going to right click, particle system, and we're going to call this fireworks underscore p. We're going to open this guy up, and we're going to have this default spray here of crosshair. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the required here and change the material to our fireworks dot. There it is. I have other ones that are called the same, spoilers. And then when this loads in, we should now have dots instead of crosshairs. They're over there. Hello, you little dudes. Come on, go ahead and change. There we are. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give this a lifetime of 5 seconds as a constant. So they will all last for 5 seconds before they disappear. And the reason we're going to do that is because we are building both the shell and the tail for the fireworks so that they will spray up into the air. Well, one will spray up into the air and the other will spray particles downwards. So our color of life here, we're just going to leave this as it is. We're happy with white, but our initial size, we're going to just tone this down to maybe 15 in all cases, so we always have the same. Now under our under our spawn rather, we'll do this first, is we're going to set our constant to 0, so we have no particles, poor particles. But under the burst list, we will add an element to the array, open this up, and add 1 to the count. So now we're just going to get 1 poofing up. Now the reason it's poofing 1 every second is because in our required, if we head down, our emitter duration is set to 1 second with an emitter loop of 0. So it's going to keep doing this. We only ever want this guy to spawn once, so we're going to give an emitter loop of 1. Ta-da! An emitter duration of 5, because we need the actual emitter here to last for a decent amount of time. Our velocity, however, we don't want this to just float up really slowly. We're going to give this a default value of maybe 5,000. That might be a bit quick. That might be a bit quick. We might need a slightly lower poof. Let's see. That might be a bit quick. So we're going to lower that down. 5,000 is too high. We're going to say 3,000. Poof. Right. Where are we now? Whoosh. Maybe that's even a bit too much. Let's go 2,000. Wow, Dean really wanted to make this thing fly, right? Like, God. Dean, stop. Obviously, if you want this to be super, super fast, then put it up a little bit, but this is... There we go, that's probably about right. That's what I want. So we have our particle emitter that is just shooting off one little guy, just poof, off he goes. So what are we now going to do with it? Well, we're going to add a little bit of acceleration to this. And we're going to give this a maximum acceleration of 10 in the X and the Y, and a minimum of -10 in the X and Y. And what this will do is it will allow the little dot to get dragged as it goes upwards. So here we're getting this nice little arc rather than just going straight up. Whee! Cool. So the next thing that we need is we need to add the tail. So right click, new particle emitter system, and we'll have a new little spray here. Lovely jubbly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say to our particles, we don't want these to last too long. We're going to say maybe a minimum of 1. Maybe even just 0.5 and then 1. Yeah. What we'll do is we're just going to head to the required, and again we want this to have our lovely fireworks dot material, so these will be little dots. Their size is way too big. We want these to be smaller than the cap so that we can see these things. We're going to say 10 to 5. We don't want a 56 just lurking around in there. So 10 to 5. The initial velocity, we always want these to be going downwards, so we're going to say -200, -100. There we go, so they're always going down, and we're just going to give these a slightly wider spray. So 50 and -50 on the minus, and then you'll see we've got this nice little cone shape rather than just a downward spray. Now this is still quite naked, there is not a whole lot going on here, so what we're going to do is head to spawn, and we're just going to ramp this up a little bit, maybe 200, there we are. And just to make sure this is a little bit easier for us, we're just going to change our type data to GPU sprites. Just so that these are now loaded onto the GPU rather than the CPU, this will just make it just a little bit more proficient to run. Our color of life, right now these aren't very shiny, so what we're going to do is we're just going to add just a little bit of yellow to these guys. But then in the value, we're going to ramp the value up to maybe 50, so that we get this glow. There we go. Cool. Now, as some of you may notice, if we press to restart, that original dot just flies off and leaves our particle behind. Now, we obviously want the tail to follow that dot. And to do this, we're going to right-click inside of our second particle emitter, and we're going to head to Location, Emitter, Initial Location. Now, right now, this isn't going to work for us. What we need to do is click at the top of our first emitter, right-click, Emitter, Rename, and we're going to call this Main. Right-click the second one, Emitter, Rename, Trail. Now, in the emitter initial location, change the name to Main, and you'll see now it follows because our emitter is stuck to this single particle that we're firing off into the sky. But as you can see, after the loop ends, this comes back down. This is because our little guy here continues to loop. We want the single loop for 5 seconds, and that will now die off at the exact same time as the others. Whee! Off it goes. So it's already looking kind of cool. We've already got like a rocket flying off into the sky. So what do we want to do next? Well, we don't want to just add more particle emitters here. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly save this, close that down, and right-click our material. We're going to duplicate this, and we're just going to call this dot. Maybe we'll call this 2_m. And we're going to open this up, and we need to change this around a little bit. We're happy with the alpha, but what we need to do is we need a way to change our color. We want random colors, so we're going to be using blueprints to determine what our color is going to be. But we need to set that up, so we're going to right click. Well, hold up. We're not going to right click. What am I talking about? We're going to hold 3 and left click, and this is going to give us a lovely 3 vector. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to give this a default color of maybe white. There we go. And we're going to right click this, and we're going to convert to parameter, and we're going to call this color. Now, we can just plug this straight into our multiply here, but we don't really want to do that because this is not how we're going to be getting our glow. We also need another multiply with a 1 constant. So hold M and left click for multiply, hold 1 and left click for a constant, and we're just going to give this a pretty high value of maybe 200, so we get a nice sharp glow. And we'll plug these in like this, and now we're going to get this nice white glow happening in our emissive. Ta-da, lovely and bright. So head back to our fireworks, right click, new particle emitter. Now what we're going to do here is we need to tell this guy where to spawn, which is obviously going to be where this guy is at the end of its cycle. And we also need to tell it to blow up. So We're going to right click it at the top first, and we're going to rename this to burst, just so we know what it is. We're going to head to required. Our emitter duration, it's only going to be a burst, and we only have one loop of this because it's going to explode. So we're going to just leave the duration at 1 and put an emitter loop of 1 because we only want it to happen once. The thing that we don't want to happen is we don't want it to happen right at the start of this loop. If we press restart sim, you can see it's happening right at the beginning. We need it to delay, and we know that our cap, or our main, is lasting for 5 seconds. So what we're going to do is emitter delay for 4.9 seconds. So right at the last possible minute, this is when this will now poof out those particles. There they are. But that's not how we want those to happen. No, 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 sir. What we want to happen is we want these to explode in a lovely burst. So we're going to head to spawn, change our constant to 0, add a burst, open this up, give this a count of maybe 400. We want quite a lot of these guys. Now we're just going to see whether or not that's going to poof with 400 of them. Poof, there they go, 400, lovely. And then what we're going to do is our initial velocity, we're just going to get rid of initial velocity. We don't need any velocity, so now when they pop, they're just going to sit there. We're going to right click. Oh, see that? They just sit there. And we're going to go to location, and we're going to give this a sphere. Now, we want quite a big sphere, so we're going to say maybe 500. If we zoom out, we should be able to see this explode. Hop, there we go. So we've got this nice 500 radius. We're going to say surface only, and we are going to say yes to velocity. And let's see now. Poof, there we go. Now they're exploding outwards. Awesome. But you may have noticed they're in the wrong place. Right click, location, emitter initial location, name, main. And now they should explode all the way up there instead of down at the bottom. Let's see, let's just make sure that they don't pop down here. Yeah, cool. So required, we can't see them because it's got the wrong material, so we're going to call it, what do we call it? We call it .2, right? We're going to add our .2 material. Let's just see if they explode all the way up there. We should be able to see them. There we are. That's quite small. I think that maybe this is going too high. Or we're not getting enough of a sphere here. So maybe we'll say 5,000 on the sphere. Poof. Yeah, cool. 5,000 to 3K. Let's go 3K. With a... Yes, we want quite a large sphere, and then we're going to turn down the velocity scale to maybe 0.7 rather, not 1.7. And this will go up. And then, poof, and they don't go quite as far. Cool, so we'll give this a 5,000, there we are. So they're going to go quite far, but they're not going to be as violent. They're going to get quite floaty. There we go. Cool. So we have our little explosion happening, which is grand. It's working the way that we want it to work. It's flying up, and it's going poof. I'm happy with the size of these for 25s because they're going to be quite far up in the sky. You want them to be quite large so that they're visible. One thing that I am going to do, however, is I'm just going to add a size by a size scale, and we are just going to see poof. There we go. We're going to change this to a vector constant curve. I do believe. In fact, no, we're not. We're going to leave that as a vector uniform. What am I doing? Vector uniform is the one I wanted, and we're going to go for 1, 1, 1, and a minimum of 5, 5, 5, well, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And now we should get like a weird little flicker to them. See how they're flickering? This is like they're slightly changing shape. Well, not shape, size. See, they're getting like this little flicker. That's cool. That's what we want. What we're going to do now is we're going to right-click emitter, and we're actually going to duplicate this emitter. However, our spawn, we're going to change the burst count down to maybe 200, and we're going to change their size down to maybe 15 and 10. We'll just quickly see this blow up, come on. And now we should get some smaller ones in there. And our sphere, we're going to change the size of it, so we're going to bring that down to 3,000. So we're going to have another sphere inside of the initial sphere, but with smaller particles in. You see that now? It looks like we're getting this extra inner explosion coming from the middle. So poof, there it goes. Cool, so we'll save this. Now this is doing pretty much everything that we want it to do as a particle. Let's press play so we can see it go. Poof. Now, those aren't very visible at the moment. We are going to fix that shortly. And that's because our material just needs a little bit more loving to it. So what we're going to do here is we are going to multiply these values further. So take this out and hold M and left click. We're going to multiply our intensity here. We're going to right click, get a sign. Plug this into the multiplier. You're going to get an error here when we plug this in. It's going to be like, no, don't do it. What we need here is a time node. Plug this into sine. As sine, we are going to give this a period of 0.1. And this is going to give a little bit of a flicker, which is going to look really nice. Let's see. We press play. We should get a flicker here. Although the material isn't ready yet, so. Damn you, material! So what we're going to do, here we go, so we're getting this flicker, but you see it's a little bit violent. Sorry for those who have any sort of light sensitivity issues. Whoa, so unplug that really quick. What we're going to do is we're going to right click and clamp. And the reason this is going that insane is because it's, well, one, it's a little bit too quick. We're actually going to change this to 0.3. And two, because the sign goes from 0, it goes to 1 down to -1, and it's multiplying those values. So we're going to clamp this. We want 1 to be hit, but we want the minimum to be maybe 0.5. So we're going from 0.5 to 1 with the sign. So it won't be as crazy when it flashes now. See? We're getting this nice little flicker. So if we press play, let's see. We may change that size thing. Doesn't seem to be working out for us this time. Yeah. Or we just need to make the dots bigger. Let's see. Let's go to the fireworks, change our initial size of these guys, maybe up to 50. Because right now those are getting really small, and change these down to 25s to 15s. Away they go. Poof, there we go, much nicer. So by making these a little bit bigger, the size value isn't getting changed so dramatically. There we are. That's happening still very, very rapidly, so we're just going to head into our fireworks emitter and change up our spheres constant here. We're going to change this down to maybe 0.3. Cool, and we're going to give these a slightly longer life of 3 seconds. We don't want the explosion to be violent, we want it to be satisfying. Whoa, 33 seconds, don't think so, thank you very much. So now our explosion should last for 3 seconds and be a little bit slower. There we are, nice. That's a little bit too long now, so I'm actually going to change this down to 2 to 2.5. 2 to 2.5. There we go, and poof. Nice. So now what we need to do is we just need to set up how we can have a random color on these things. Now what I was using is a lovely little blueprint here that's going to control everything, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to right click, blueprint class, actor. Now you can put this into any blueprint that you want, but I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to call this fireworks control underscore BP. Now for this to work, this has to be inside of the level somewhere. Let's just get rid of this default guy. We're going to open this up, and we're going to head to our event graph. We're going to get rid of all of this, and what we're going to say is on left click, left mouse button. On left mouse button, what do we want to do? We want to spawn emitter. Now I'm going to spawn it attached to our character. You can spawn this however you want. I'm going to do it this way. Emitter is going to be our fireworks underscore P. The location, well, we're going to get our player character, and we're just going to get world location. We're going to use the mesh rather than the hitbox, location, pop. There we go. And we're going to leave auto destroy turned on for the spawn emitter, so once the emitter has finished its cycle, it will destroy itself. So that's grand. If we press play, we should be able to now spawn them. Oh, no we shouldn't. We need to go back into this blueprint, and under the actual self here, we're going to set auto receive to player 1 so that we actually get some control from the player. Still no. Ooh, what are we doing wrong? Let's see. Oh, it's because I'm using attached. Dope. Spawn emitter at location. I'm so dopey. We're spawning it at the location. We're not actually spawning the emitter attached to the character, otherwise it wouldn't fly anywhere. I'm a dope. So they should fly up now and explode. Poof, 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 poof. Nice. Cool. Now, how do we give these a random color? Well, luckily what we can do is we can create a dynamic material instance. Now then, element indexes, this is the material slots. We have 4 different emitters, so we have 4 material slots. We know that our main is using a regular dot, our tail is using a regular dot, but our bursts are using a different dot. So what we do is we're going to say from element index 2. And the reason we're using 2 is because all arrays start at 0. So the main is 0, the tail is 1, and then the first burst is 2, and the second burst is 3. Don't question me. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say our source material, we called it .2. We're going to plug .2 in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drag out from our emitter, and we are going to set our material of index 2, and we also need to set our material of index 3. And the material we're going to set them to is this guy, like so. We'll plug this in. There we are. But how can we test this out? Well, we need to give this some colors. Right now it's not doing anything, it's just keeping the same color, and that's not quite what we want. We created a vector parameter value. Remember, we called it color. So what we can do is we can drag out from our material, set vector parameter value, and the parameter name, we called it color, because we thought ahead. We're going to plug the execution pins in so that this happens before the material is set. And now to decide what color we want, well, we can give this red as an example. And now if we, hello you, what do we got? Oh, the target. Plug the target in. There we are. If we press play and fire these off, we should get a red explosion. He says, there we go, we've got a red explosion. Nice. So we know that that's working. Proof of concept, yay. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click the value for the color, promote this to a variable, and we will call this color selection. That spelling, color selection. Selection, thank you very much. Now, a variable type, we're just going to click this little blue pill on the right and go down to these boxes to create an array. And what an array is going to do is it's going to give us a lovely list. This will break, don't worry about that. So we're going to get a list here, but we need to compile to first get the first value. Array elements, we're going to give this a few to pick from. We're going to give it 5, and we're going to say first one, maybe we want it to be a nice light blue. Second one, we're going to set this to more of a red. Third, we'll give it a green, yellow, orange, more of a yellow, go a bit more orange there, we go. Then maybe a pink. There we are. Now you can add as many colors as you want here. Just keep track of how many array elements you have. That's going to be important. So how are we going to select this? Well, we're going to pull out from this, and we're going to, come on, pull out, and we're going to say get a copy. And we're going to plug this into the value. Now by default, this is getting 0, as 0 is the first in our array. That is the light blue. So if we were to fire this off, it should be light blue on the explosion. Poof, light blue, nice. But we want to pick a color at random, so the way we're going to do that is we're going to get random. Oop. We're not going to get random, we're just going to random int in range. And the reason we use an in range is because we don't want to go beyond the possible values, because it's going to find nothing and probably print back black. Our list here goes to 5. It will never reach the top number. Or will it? It will. So we'll say 5. Plug this in. And now we've got 6 possible values. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Feels weird counting 0 as 1, but there you go. That's what you get with arrays. Don't at me. There we go. Press play. Spam these, and we should get some different colours. Unless we get really unlucky. There we go. Because you can get really unlucky and it will just pull the same colour each time, because, you know, it is just a percentage chance and that can happen. There we are. Now, the only thing that is kind of missing is the trail keeps going. So we're gonna change the trail really quick, and we want these to arc a little bit more. They're not really arcing right now very much at all. So we're going to head back into the particle system. There we are, and under our tail, or trail we called it, under required, our emitter duration, we want this to end a slight bit before the explosion. So we're going to say 3.9, which is 1 second before the actual explosion. So if we press play now, the tail should stop and we'll get a short delay before anything explodes. There we go. Could probably go with a little bit more of a delay. So let's give these a, or is it the lifetime here? No, the lifetime's fine. Oh, it's in the required. I'm going to say 3. So almost 2 seconds worth of no trail, because, you know, you don't always have a trail at the end of fireworks. They end before they explode. Like so. Just going to head back in here, and under our main, under initial velocity, we're just going to give these a little bit more of leeway, like so. So they can go a little bit more to the side. Because right now they're always within the same, I believe that was like 40 units, so we're not getting very much variance. There we go, now you can see we're getting a bit more. There we are. Yeah, they're converging in areas and going away from each other at others. So we're getting some more randomization there. But there we go, we've got these lovely, explodey, sparkly particles. Poof. Obviously, I've got my my sky dome set to more of a night to make these more easy to see, because, you know, fireworks during the day don't really do a whole lot. So if you just want to match my settings here, click your sky sphere and then grab, make sure, well, click your sky sphere, make sure that colors determined by sun positions turned on, grab your light source here, and by default it will be pointing like this way. Just point it upwards so that the sun is under the ground. Probably still see it, there it is, hello. And if it doesn't update, click your skybox and then refresh material, just tick this box and it will refresh it for you if it doesn't happen automatically, and then you'll be in night mode. But there we go. Now obviously, if you want to change some of these colors around, if you want the trail to be a bit yellower or a little bit sharper, then make those dots a little bit smaller. You can have more on the spray. You can make your explosions bigger, smaller. You can even add a little bit of acceleration here. So on the burst, we're just going to give an acceleration of -100 and -150. And here, acceleration -100, -150. And then if you're in a position where you're more eye level with these things, they will appear to fall down after they explode, as you'd expect them to, because they're affected by gravity after all. But there you go, everybody. Some cool little fireworks all in a single emitter, and a little blueprint just to make them shoot off into the sky. We could probably give these a little bit more of an arc. Wee, poof, 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 whoosh. Let's double check the reference that I've created. Let's see, how did we... Oh, we gave these a really big acceleration. Yes, and no velocity on the sides. So there we go. Back to uniform. So let's just match that really quick. So, pop up. Acceleration 50, 50. Oops. Negative 50, negative 50. Like so. And now we should get some really nice arcing. There we go. Cool. We just hadn't given them enough acceleration. And there you go, everybody. Lovely fireworks. Woo! It seems fitting because I'm kind of celebrating at the moment with my channel growing a little bit. Whee! There we go, something nice and fun. We haven't touched Cascade in ages, and now we have. And this has been quite a long video. Look at that, almost 31 minutes. So I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. You've got places to be. As usual, if you want to get your hands on these files without having to build them, then they're available on my Patreon. You can find the Discord link in the description below. But there you go. Thank you for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye for now. Just gonna fire some more. Katy Perry would want it. Go, Katy Perry, go. Oh, I'm a plastic bag.